Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to the alpha for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today we continue exploring a hostile galaxy. Though first, you'll notice we're back on Ice Planet, because it turns out we did, in fact, miss one loose end. Let's have a look, shall we? And right off the bat, given the decor and the literal writing on the wall, I'm gonna say this is Imperial. Oh. Pascal, I'm gonna need you. Assuming we're still dealing with... Right. Oh, my goodness. Heinrichs, you might want to move. And the other one? Well, failed the check, but at least that one didn't light anyone on fire. Okay, now we can have a look. You recognize the horrific dead creature as a Medusae, a monster from the depths of the webway, the favorite pet of the Drukhari. Can't actually see it past the inspection icon, but it certainly sounds terrifying. What a weird-looking locker. Like a turret from Portal. Wraithbone Necklace. This necklace resonates with the mind of the wearer, keening senses and helping to concentrate. Grants +10 to intelligence and perception tests. But for Eldari only. Well, I mean, we've only got the one Eldari, so it's obvious who that's going to. Oh, hey, and look at that. It actually increases base intelligence and perception, including the linked skills. And combined with the intelligence bump we just gave her, I think it's time to go ahead and swap some equipment. As aforementioned, we'll make her our lead on Xenos lore. That way Pascal can focus on tech use, logic, and a side of Imperial lore. Which does leave our gun helmet floating. So we'll toss that to our other sniper. Oh yeah, that looks much better on her. Not sure she'll really get much use out of it, but certainly better than just not using it at all. Your courage, your devotion, your faith will bring us victory. Right. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that this was just some Imperial scavenger or pirate's stash. A bunch of Drukhari tech that they scavenged somewhere, or possibly took right off the battlefield.
It's about time.
And which they then set up to lure in additional victims via that distress signal, the one that went off every few years. Sadly, I don't think there's any way for us to find out who's actually behind it, but given that it is in winter scale space, we can probably assume the worst. Okay, let's set our sight on this upper right quadrant next. Then we can just sort of counterclockwise our way around the rest of the map. Which I guess means we'll head this way. Back around the right side to Nola Septum. That seems like the most efficient route. was a malfunction in the engineering chamber during the warp journey. The accelerator cogitators stopped obeying the tech priests, and for a few precious moments, the ancient machines were left to their own devices. The crew managed to avoid serious breakdowns or accidents. Several acolytes of the cult Mechanicus were turned into servitors as penance, and the bosun gave out several triple shifts to the voidsmen who dredged up the old rumors about the cursed ship. Okay, well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's actually not too horrible, aside from the thing with the tech priests, but we'll take it. During the period designated as the night shift... Oh, that's the nightmares? Yeah, there's the stuff with Wersurian lamenting his son. Okay, so we are at the point where we're starting to repeat certain events. I guess that'll make warp travel slightly quicker. I won't feel compelled to read the ones we've already seen. That night, the Lord Captain and some of his crew were awakened by beautiful music. The sound seemed to caress their very minds, until they realized that the source was their own bodies. While their teeth were chattering out a staccato, their tendons were being plucked like strings by unseen hands, and invisible breaths flowed through their bones, turning them into mournful flutes. The illusion ended, but for a long time afterward, every movement made their hearts stutter in fear. Was the orchestra about to strike up once more? Oh yeah, that's pretty spooky, but no one died, so we'll take it. Let's refine our route and then on to Nola Septum. Oh, and it turns out that we can actually refine these routes so that they're completely safe. We just get so few navigation points, it feels like kind of a waste. I might do that for our main trade route, though. For Abundus to Telecos Prime. Gravity reversal. We've seen this one. Yeah, ignoring the narrative text of those events, the One Skull stuff just causes minor damage to your ship, so it's actually not that big a deal. We've got a destroyed ship and a named planet. Santiel's Pride. Not one of ours, but we'll give it a gander. Ice World. Nothing. Let's check out Santiel's Pride. Adamantium. But no notable events or anything. Interesting. Though to be fair, this is just Chapter 2. I imagine we'll have reason to revisit a lot of these places once we get to later chapters of the campaign. Cloak of Shadows. +5 awareness. And allows you to leave position without provoking attacks of opportunity for 1 action point. As well as a hallucinogen blade. A Drukhari one-handed chain weapon. Slightly lower damage than our elite chain sword. Penetration's about on par. Doesn't have an area strike, only has a single target hallucinogen strike. I imagine that just debuffs foes on strike. It sounds interesting, but unfortunately, without an area attack, it's pretty hard to justify actually putting it on Rhett or Heinrichs. Not that it really matters, because according to this, we're not even proficient with it. The cloak might be useful, though. I'll have to give that some thought. Rocky World. Nothing. And that's it. That's the sector. Aside from whatever's waiting for us on Santiel's Pride, but again, that's future content we probably don't have to worry about right now. 2 options this time. Mundus Nullius or Latosian's Passage. We'll hook right. Killer Shadow Event. We've seen this one too. But last time we banished them with the power of faith and prayer. So this time let's try the other option. Order that the decks be purified with fire. Oh, good. The scorching of decks started properly, but quickly went out of control when it became clear the chamber had not been fully evacuated. The roaring flame destroyed many priceless machines, and the people locked in distant cabins either suffocated from the toxic smoke or perished in the stampede. Despite the losses, the plan was a success, and the Shadow Skulkers were never seen again. Well, that went terribly. But that's life and death in the warp, I guess. Sorry. Hostile fleet. We haven't had a ship battle in a while. We'll start with Dead World here, then we'll check out the ships. Oh, landing site. Fantastic. But we'll hold off on that until we've cleared the rest of the sector. Rocky World. This lone mountain chain is composed entirely of a mineral with a shiny, mirror-like surface. The mineral itself has no particular value for production, but its properties make this place incredibly beautiful. The sky is brilliantly reflected in the many surfaces of the plateaus, oddly shaped rocks, stone arches, and columns. The view is especially stunning on clear, starry nights, or when aurora trails dance in the sky. The enraptured crew have asked the Lord Captain's permission to visit this remarkable place. Sure, why not? What's the worst that could happen? The shore leave passed without incident, and the ship's officers talked about it for weeks afterwards. Lady Cassia spent a great deal of time in the Mirror Mountains. One cannot say whether it was in awe or contemplation. Upon her return to the ship, she spent several days in her quarters in front of her easel. But the canvas remained unmarked. Mildly unsettling. But I'm sure that's fine. And now, the time for battle is upon us. Onward, my friends! As soon as you get in the unknown ship's proximity, it points its loaded cannons directly at you. Several other ships emerge from the shadows of drifting asteroids, encircling you tightly. Captain Xantha Labouche's mocking greetings and her offer of a lifetime to exchange your life for her peace of mind infuriate your crew. But the situation is a stalemate. You can either get into an uneven fight and lose everything, or shamefully buy your way out, sacrificing only your pride. Oof, this is a fine how do you do. But you know what? Never give up, never surrender! Damn the resonance cannons and full speed ahead! Two pirate frigates. Two pirate destroyers. That's not terrible. Starting position's not bad. Though we are going to get flanked pretty much immediately. Let's hammer that closer frigate. We might not win this one, but by the Emperor, they'll know they were in a fight.
Unleash our vengeful salvo!
Warp wiggle. Oh, I can work with that. We'll hook hard right, strafe the frigate, and then empty our forward guns into that destroyer. A little farther.
The time has come. Fire right now! Another salvo!
Well, that wasn't great. We didn't even make it through their shields.
Fire the lance batteries.
And that was slightly better.
Lay in the course.
Full power to rear shields. And here we go. Light damage on forward. Shields holding. Destroyer 2 moving up. But too far to hit us. Frigate 2. Hit on rear shields, but not that bad. Oh, that's perfect. We'll take it. Oof, those are tough shields. Okay, we need to get some space. Let's bootleg reverse. Then we'll put another shot in the destroyer.
This one's going down.
Nice, nice. Right shield's down. Full power to forward. Might as well toss a warp wiggle in there too. Slow these guys down. Well, that didn't really help. Ah, of course.
The time has come.
Destroyer 1 circling. Unshielded side exposed. Destroyer 2 incoming. Forward shields are almost out. Enemy torpedoes deployed. Frigate 2 circling wide. Deploying our own salvo. And we need to get up behind their salvo. We're going to take some hellacious fire once we're in there, but we might be able to drop that destroyer with its weak side exposed. Six spaces. Okay, okay. Port guns will go into the frigate's weak side. Everything else hits the destroyer.
Leave their hull through across the stars.
Not having a lot of luck hitting those frigates. They are slippery.
Another salvo.
Nice.
Fire the lance batteries.
Destroyer 1 out. Shields to port. Brace for impact. Minor damage to port shields. Port shields are getting thin, but we're okay for now. Torpedoes out. Forward shields out. Hull damaged. Right shield's dinged. Let's bust out. We'll get some space. Strafe. Frigate 2 when passing. Oh, I can work with that.
This one's going down.
No, we need space.
Fire right now! Another salvo!
Not as much as I would have liked, but it's something. Shields to rear. Hope for the best. Destroyer 2 and Frigate 1 circling. Frigate 2 is the only one that could actually land hits on us this round. Okay, that wasn't bad at all. Light ding on starboard shields, but they're still up. We do have enemy torpedoes to worry about, though. Oh, nice.
Fire right now! Another salvo!
Nice. And Frigate 2. Morale broken. They're running. Torpedoes deployed. I am a little worried about their torpedoes, though. Let's hedge our bets. Yeah, that works. Destroyer 2 closing, but not close enough to fire. Frigate 1 circling really wide. And Frigate 2 skedaddling. Full focus on Destroyer 2. Let's take him out. Oh wow, that is a fantastic start.
Fire the lance batteries! Leave their hull strewn across the stars! Another salvo!
And Destroyer 2 is out.
The time has
Pursuing
come.
Frigate 1.
Leave their
Shields to rear. Warp wiggle. That'll buy us enough time to finish off Frigate 1. Ah, shoot. That's not what I wanted. It's fine, though. They're still panicking, so we'll just punch through their starboard shields.
Annihilate them! Lay in the course. Another salvo!
Nice, nice.
Lead them!
Oh, come on.
Fire right now! Macro cannons, volley! The time has come.
They'll keep running. Frigate 2 still circling, but coming within firing range. Keep pouring it on. Hard right.
Set the course. This one's going down. Fire right now! For the glory of the Imperium!
Target destroyed.
Onward!
Pretty much just clean up at this point. We'll take some damage, but we should be fine. Doesn't mean we should get careless, though.
Fire the lance batteries. Lay in the course. Another salvo!
And warp wiggle. Yes, that works. Minor hull damage. Second enemy salvo deployed. Getting slightly dicey. Enemy port shields out. Minor hull damage. Let's hard to starboard. That'll bring us around behind the second salvo, but we have to be careful not to move back into its arc.
Leave their hull strewn across the stars! Fire right now! time has come. This one's going down. Opening! Our gun batteries await your command.
Get out of here. Thank you. And we're good. Enemy's panicking, so now it really is just cleanup. Nice.
Onward! Lead them. Leave their hull strewn across the stars.
Leave their hulls strewn across the stars.
Of course.
Ooh, cut that one close.
Fit for the Funkenstein animals.
Okay. Oh yeah, that was definitely our reward. We got a ton of cargo there. Very nice. Oh, a full stack of provisions. I wonder if that's enough to close out that other quest as well. We'll have to revisit that colony in distress at some point. Oh, and look at that. We're up a level again, too. Fantastic. And here I was starting to think that ship battle was too much of a time sink, but turns out it was well worth our time. Imperial Ruins? Okay, well, before we get into this, let's knock out this level up real quick. Oh, I guess I gain nothing this level? Your lad gained something. Immediate dispatch. No text. Yeah, we might be bumping up against the edges of the alpha here. Adira picks up the same thing. Immediate dispatch, whatever that is. Oh, here we go. Cassie gains a skill. Which, no social skills, so I guess Imperial lore? I guess you can take that over for Pascal. Yeah, she's actually not far off. She's like 5 points behind. Which means Pascal can stay focused on tech use, logic, and Medicae. Heinrichs also gains an advance on ability. Oh, and this is an easy one. I already decided we're bumping his psi rating. That should boost the effectiveness of a sail and telekinetic dome. And Rhett. He should be gaining a talent, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be working, so I guess we'll just do without. Obligatory reminder, this is an alpha. I'm sure they'll get it sorted. That said, let's check this place out.
I offer up my thanks to thee, Omnissiah, for granting me the ability to serve you as a predator whose prey is knowledge.
Predators? You can hear the growling too? A sound so vile it makes your teeth clench? Makes you want to kill? No? Just me? That's not good. Yeah, it's probably not great. The ruins here vaguely resemble the architecture of the Imperium, and yet there is some subtle difference to these structures. So, chaos?
Victory awaits!
Oh my goodness, what am I looking at? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that's probably not Imperial.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Intriguing.
The remains of unknown structures are haphazardly strewn about the plateau. Oh, hello there. Cracked Xeno chest. The small chest made from a strange material has no keyhole or any other opening. The murky crystal on the lid is cracked, but continues to glow inscrutably. Okay, so we'll be on the lookout for some sort of keystone, I guess.
I won't tolerate weakness.
Side entrance to the sinister shrines. So this is feeling like Imperial ruins that were somehow tainted by a Xenos presence. Gene Stealer cult, maybe? I mean, that is definitely not Imperial. I don't know what that is. We've got a symbol on the floor. We've got this. Vox recording, yes. What do you got for me? A furious male voice is coming from the old Vox. This is Captain Trevor Durhath calling the bullion. Get your asses back to the surface and get me out of here, you shits! My guts may be fused to my suit, but I'm not dead yet, no matter how much you wish it were otherwise. A moment later, the raging tone gives way to strangled rasping. Hey, can any of you hear me? Respond. I'll pay double, just don't leave me here. Damn it, it was going so well. We even figured out how to open the first sphere thanks to the pattern on the floor. Yeah, who knew there'd be so much trouble with the second one? I didn't. They didn't either. Cowards! The moment that beam was directed back, I was already lying with my guts turned inside out, and they were running off with my goods. Oh, Emperor, you whore son, why'd you leave me like that? I'm scared. Oh, yes. No, I don't want to die. Not alone. Aren't you supposed to watch over all your children? Quiet, you lot. Shut it already. I can't even hear myself. The record is silent for a few moments. All you can hear is the sound of someone pounding the shell of a void suit with a recording device. I'm cold. I wonder if I'll die from lack of oxygen, or will my organs give out earlier? The damned god! The damned emperor! In the end, you will all serve the true masters. The human speech gradually deteriorates into an indecipherable mix of howling and clicking sounds. That sounds like Tyranids? They use the symbol to open a sphere. This human skeleton is curled up in an unnatural position. It is inside a void suit with a hole burned right through it. Someone has carved a strange pattern on the floor. As you look at the lines, a fog descends over your mind. Oh. I can feel reality getting thinner with each failed attempt. The beacon's psi-tech belongs to the ancient Xenos called Khraves. Monstrosities who enhance their mental control over entire planets with the use of such devices. I have never heard of those at all. Is that a thing? Khrave? I mean, okay, I guess that gives us some idea of what we're dealing with here. Based on Adira's comment, it also sounds like we started some sort of puzzle, but how does it work?
None shall stand in my way.
Warp aberration. Vehard didn't obey the Masters, and the Masters ate Vehard. I will obey. These are not living people, but echoes of the past, brought to life by sorcerous powers. You should be more careful. Oh, lighten up, Heinrichs. We're not dead yet. Oh, interesting. A single look at this strange pattern is enough to send your mind reeling. So how do we do this? Oh. Okay.
Follow my lead.
We can now trigger the second pedestal, which continues projecting the beam. So
It's about time.
what happens if we complete a full circuit? It seems the pattern no longer works. Oh, right, that's the pattern. That's the pattern that Adira is standing on. That's the one the captain said they completed, which opened a sphere. So we need to make the second pattern. Right. See, now it's shooting a different pillar. No, that's not right. That's not right. How do we reorient the beams? I am very confused. How? I don't think we even have enough pillars to make this shape. Oh, clicking on the small pillars again reorients the beam. Gotcha. Let's hit the pause button real quick. I'm going to finagle with this thing for a moment. Get the beams all lined up. Look, in the jaws. And there we go. Puzzle complete. Which gets us an ancient force sword. Well, that sounds like a perfect fit for Heinrichs. I'm sure he'll appreciate getting a mysterious artifact from an abominable Xenos ruin. I'm assuming that gets bumped by a psi rating. Yeah, okay. So that is a very slight upgrade. Not bad. Not sure it was worth all this, but it was interesting. I've never heard of the Khrave. I'm going to have to look them up once I'm done recording here. And, you know, upgrades are always welcome. The puzzle itself was actually pretty straightforward once we figured out what we were actually supposed to be doing. That was the tricky part. The ruins are emitting faint psi energies. However, it does not pose a direct threat for now. But I advise that we do not linger here. Yeah, that's fair.
I won't tolerate weakness.
I think we're pretty much done here anyway. Alright, folks. Well, we are past time, so I feel like this is a good place to call it. This was an interesting session. We had a nice space battle, found some interesting planetary stuff, and got some really solid upgrades. We'll hit the pause button for now. I'll give this place another pass off screen, and we will pick up here next time, as we continue exploring the deeper and darker nether regions of the Coronis Expanse. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible. Including, but not limited to, Dragon Matrix 7, Mathew Smith, Revenant, Alois, Drakiith, V23, EgonAlter, Emile, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
Fit for the Funkenstein animals.